Why do some people greet you with two kisses while others barely want a handshake? Why does having your hair played with feel like love in one culture and way too intimate in another? Why does a hug from grandma, a squeeze on the shoulder, or someone fixing your collar feel so loaded? Because touch is not just touch, it's culture, it's memory, it's family, it's safety, it's intimacy. It's what your body learned before you even had words for it. And depending on where you come from, touch can mean I love you, I trust you, I see you, or back the hell up. And honestly, that's fascinating to me. Welcome to Fluent AF, the podcast where language, culture, and identity meet. I'm Priscilla, and today we're talking about something we don't always name as language, but absolutely is. Touch. We usually think of language as words, but before words, there was the body. Before I love you, there was being held. Before I'm here, there was a hand on your back. Before I trust you, there was closeness. And that's why touch hits so deep, because it often communicates faster than speech. A kiss on the cheek, a hand on your shoulder, your mom fixing your hair before you leave the house, a friend leaning on you, a grandma rubbing bivaporu on your chest like she's about to cure the whole bloodline. That's not random. That's communication. That's ritual. That's culture moving through the body. And depending on where you grew up, you learned very early what kind of touch means love, what kind means respect, what kind means family, and what kind means absolutely not. Now, this is where it gets juicy because touch has regional dialects too. Some people agree with one kiss, two kisses, three kisses, a hug, a side hug, a kiss and a hug, or that weird fake cheek tap where nobody actually touches, which is very specific and honestly hilarious. And you don't realize there are learned behaviors until you leave your culture and suddenly someone else's normal feels too much or weirdly cold. Like when you go in for a hug and the other person gives you a handshake, or when someone leans in for a kiss and you rotate that wrong way and now it's like a near mouth incident. Horrifying, humbling, very international. Because what feels warm in one culture can feel invasive in another. What feels respectful in one place can feel distant somewhere else. And neither is wrong, they're just different bodily grammars. And that's what I love about this topic, that because just like spoken language, touch has accent, rhythm, rules, boundaries, misunderstandings. Your body has a cultural accent too. And that's pretty wild. And now this is where it gets personal. Because touch doesn't just come from culture in the abstract, it comes from your house. What did affection look like where you grew up? Were you hugged a lot? Were you kissed on the cheek every day? Did your mom or grandma touch your hair constantly? Did people sit close? Touch your arm while talking? Pile into one couch, one bed, one tiny room with zero concept of personal space? Or was love quieter? Was it food? Acts of service? Presence? Silence? Practical help? Because a lot of us learned our touch language before we ever had the chance to question it. So as adults, some of us feel deeply comforted by physical closeness. And others are like, please don't touch me unless we're married, dying, or in turbulence. And honestly, it both makes sense. Because touch is never just touch, it's history. It's what your body got used to. It's what your nervous system filed under safe or maybe not. Now, if you're from a Hispanic, Latin culture, a Mediterranean culture, or honestly a lot of places outside hyper individualist American norms, you already know the body is social. We greet with kisses. We hug. We sit close. We touch while talking. We fix each other's clothes. We do each other's hair. We rub backs. We feed people aggressively. And yes, that last one counts as intimacy. Because closeness isn't always verbal. Sometimes it's your mom brushing your hair. Sometimes it's your aunt touching your face like, "Ay, mi amor, you look tired." Which is somehow loving and disrespectful at the same time. And honestly, humans are not that special here. Primates do this too. They groom each other to bond, to soothe, and stay socially connected. We just evolved and said, what if instead of picking bugs off each other, we did each other's hair and gossiped? Same impulse, different packaging. And frankly, very on brand for us. And now this is the part that gets me, because touch is deeply tied to memory. You may not remember every sentence your mother said to you, but you remember her doing your hair. You may not remember every word your grandmother said, but you remember her hands. You remember being tucked in. You remember the hand on your back, the hug after crying, the kiss on the forehead, the squeeze on the shoulder when words weren't enough. And that stuff stays in the body. That becomes your emotional baseline. That becomes your first draft of love. And I think that's why touch can be so beautiful and so complicated. Because for some people, touch means home. And for others, touch means confusion, inconsistency, or caution. So even this conversation is not one size fits all. And that matters too. And yes, there's science here too. Babies need contact. Skin to skin matters. Holding matters. Comfort matters. We are literally wired to respond to touch. And honestly, that tracks. Because even as adults, we know the difference between being around someone and feeling genuinely held by them. That's different. That hits differently. And in a world that is increasingly online, increasingly performative, increasingly disconnected, I think this conversation matters. Because it asks, what does affection look like in your culture? What does care feel like in your body? And what kinds of touch taught you what love was? That's not a small question. That's a life question. So maybe touch is one of the first languages we ever learn. Not through grammar, not through vocabulary, but through closeness, through ritual, through affection, through being held, greeted, comforted, corrected, and loved. And maybe that's why it can feel so powerful. Because touch doesn't just tell us who people are. It tells us where they're from, what they've been taught, what they've survived, and what they call love. And here's the thought I want to leave you with this week. Imagine someone shows you love in a way your body doesn't recognize. Do you reject it? Or do you learn a new language? And maybe that's what culture really is. A language the body learns first. And that's Fluent AF. If this episode made you think about your family, your culture, or weirdly specific greeting rituals, send it to somebody who gets it. And if you're listening like, wait, not everybody grew up like this, baby, welcome. Like, subscribe, and spread the word. Dale.